Andrew Nuttall, welcome to the Marketing for Business podcast.
Thanks, Scott.
Mate, I see you at the gym, but I also see you online putting out some video content, and that's why I wanted to have this chat today because, you know, you're the co-founder of, well, one of the four co-founders of Cambridge Partners, and you know you've established yourself as a I guess a highly sought after financial advisor, but I also know you as a very, very, very good cricket player.
Oh, well, thank you.
Hey?
Still working on it. Room for improvement.
You've just come back from playing cricket, is that correct?
Yeah, I played over the last week or so against Australia over 50s versus New Zealand over 50s. Yeah. 3 one-dayers and 1 3-day game.
And how did the Kiwis go?
We lost the first one-day. Our second one got rained out. It was a draw for the 3-day match, but we won on the first innings. And the last game, a tie, would you believe?
How you good? A tie?
A tie. They were 9 down as well, so it was chasing 198. So it was,
did you get any
with attention? That I was really pleased how I bowled in the last game in particular, 1 for 31 off my 9 overs.
Nice.
So that was good, sort of in trying to be a defensive mode.
It's pretty decent for after Christmas tracks too. You know, bowlers always get a bit of a telling after Christmas.
Well, it was a dry deck and flattened out too. So, but still working on trying to get more revs on it.
I love the fact that you're still working on it when most people like myself have given up. But this is part of the conversation we're going to have today because you've been in the financial game in the industry for 35 years. You can correct me if that's wrong, but you know, helping people with their money, helping invest their money, helping people see another future into retirement, which we're going to talk about today because, you know, this audience here are business owners.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes business owners, they put the financial side on the back burner while they're trying to grow something.
Yeah.
And I really wanted to have a chat about that and how you could, some of the ideas you might have for business owners. But I also wanted to go back to, I was watching a video that you put together. Someone asked you a question, I think it was 10 years ago. It was on YouTube.
Right.
And it asked, why are you so passionate about, I guess, wealth management and helping other people with investing their money?
Yeah, that's a good question because I suppose, like, if I just go back a little bit, way back when I was at school, you know, I did okay at school, but wasn't really conscientious because all I really wanted to do was, at those stages, I was keen on, you know, my sport. Cricket was always number one, but I enjoyed playing some rugby and some volleyball, in actual fact, at university. But then, and for there, it was easy. A nice job to go into was school teaching, which I did and enjoyed it, but always had that interest in sort of investments and finance, and I suppose naturally I sort of a bit like systems and processes as well.
Okay.
So there's that sort of part which comes into having sort of built a business, but I'll come back and perhaps later we talk about how my business partnerships have worked over the years because you need complementary people. But in terms of why, I think it's, I had so many early money memories around money. Now, these are not when you're 18. These are sort of messages that you receive, and typically it's from your parents or those that are close to you between the age of 3 and 6, probably, that I think sometimes I sensed. Mum and Dad worked hard, you know, and so we never went without. But I know that they worked hard, and looking back, their balance sheets at times wouldn't have been that strong.
Yeah.
All right. But so there was always that little those messages that came through about being careful, being prudent, saving. You know that you know
save your money for a rainy day.
Yeah, and I can remember way back when I would have been 6, and we'd visited Uncle George. He wasn't. And I'd heard he was going on holiday, but I'd also heard in the conversation that he'd recently retired, and something didn't add up. If he wasn't working, where was he getting his money from?
Yeah, true, right?
You know,
it's legit.
So I remember feeling quite concerned for Uncle George. So I went down to the car and I got my green plastic wallet out, and I had a threepence and a shilling, and I thought very hard what to do, and I was tempted at one stage, I think, to give him the shilling, but no, I went with the threepence. So I gave him the threepence. Years later, years and years later, my mother gave me that threepence back.
Oh, wow.
I've still got it.
Yeah.
And the story was that Uncle George had done pretty well for himself.
Yeah, yeah.
He was quite a devout person, I think, and had given a lot of money, you know, and helping with charities and things. But he'd been very wise that he accepted the threepence.
Yep. Nice.
He must have thought, what the heck is a 6-year-old giving me a threepence for? And then he had given it to my mum and said, well, gee, that's a bit special. But you can see, I was concerned about him way back then, that when he wasn't working, how was he going to get his money? And then I did a training course years ago, and one of the things we had to do in that was to sit down and have a good think about why am I doing the role that I am doing?
Yep.
You know, some of that came from experiences in the past, and that experience of Uncle George and the threepence came out.
How good.
And say, why was I a financial advisor? Because I can remember one of my grandmothers, my granddad had passed away quite early. And so I always remember her having a huge veggie garden, you know, and a border.
Yep.
And I still don't know, how did she earn some money? So money was very tight, but they were very careful with it.
Yeah.
And, you know, just things, you know, Mum was, she was probably in her formative years in the Great Depression, you know, in the early 30s. Yeah. So there was never any waste.
The interesting thing there, though, you would have seen stuff but not been told stuff, right? Like, so as a kid growing up, we had the same thing, right? So, you know, we weren't told, but you could see it and sense it, right? And money wasn't really talked about for a lot of people, right? So there would have never have been any, you know, you wouldn't have been sat down and told, well, actually, Uncle George has done really well for himself and he doesn't have to work and he's going on holiday. And, you know, you wouldn't have been told that, hey, the reason Nana has a veggie garden is, you know, saving money and stuff like that. Yeah, it's interesting how, you know, the backgrounds of people, there's a lot of people like that haven't been, you know, their money stories and their money go a long way back to, I know personally mine was the same, you know, I was a young fella on my granddad's farm, and I had to go do some tapping over this because I got to a level of my business and I couldn't seem to break through. I always had plenty of money that never kept any of it, and it was really interesting, and I was like, why is this happening? Yeah. So I went and did some work on it, and what came out was, it was crazy at the time, but what came out was my grandfather was extremely, you know, pretty wealthy. He had 2 farms.
Wow.
And he would come home, but then he got hit in the head by a post thing, and it kind of ruined him a wee bit, and ended up drinking a lot more. But he would come home, and he would have money in his pocket, and he'd put it on the table, and he would give it to me. He'd give me all this money that he just had in his pocket, and I don't know how much it was, but he would give it to me, and my uncle would get none of it. And my uncle would call me a weasel because I got the money. And I didn't want to be called a weasel, right? Like, no kid does. But at the time, I didn't have the understanding of that. It was just, that's what was happening. So somehow as a kid, I created by having money and keeping money as being a weasel. So I was always working. I was always making good money, but I was never keeping it because I didn't want to be a weasel. And I didn't even know that. And then, seriously, once I went and sorted this out, money just stayed with me, and I had the ability to still make it, but I now had the ability to multiply it. And it was crazy that was a story. I was probably about 7 or 8, and it was attached to me.
Yeah, that's those formative years.
Yeah.
And it was sort of like, there's a certain virtue of thrift. And maybe in this world we haven't got so much of it, but my mum's generation was staunch on that, because she would tell me how she can recall, she was probably 4 or 5 men knocking on the door asking to, say, chop some firewood in exchange for a meal. Those Great Depression years were very, very tough. Even things like when Mum was born, one of her uncles gave her like a money box. All right.
Wow.
And I've still got it.
Yeah.
I've still got it. And also a half gold sovereign. Well, guess what? Mum gave me that as well.
Yeah, good.
So quite special
Yeah.
things, but it just reflective of the time. You know, so much has changed. You know, consumerism, easy credit.
Totally.
Those people, well, you couldn't get it.
No.
Right? And mortgages were tough to get.
Yeah.
The trading banks didn't give mortgages. You know, to go there.
So
anyway,
so you decided though, like, okay, over the years, and they're obviously going somewhere and figuring out why you do what you do.
Yeah.
You obviously decided I want to be a custodian of money and help. Was it first to help yourself and then to help other people, or was that just naturally how it ended up happening?
Look, I suppose always noticed that sometimes money problems it causes stress and anxiety.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
And so it's such a feel-good thing when, you know, you've worked with some clients over years or even sometimes over one meeting where you can help ascertain, hey, what's important, where you're at and where do you see yourself.
Yeah.
Then you've got a pathway or a plan,
Yeah.
you know. I mean, I've said before, you can't plan your life on a spreadsheet,
Yeah.
but you've got a sense of direction. It's like if we're going to Nelson, we could go through Springs Junction or find ourselves going through Kaikoura and we can enjoy the journey still, you know, nice places to go through. But if we find we're going through Ashburton, okay, we just need to stop and reflect a little bit and maybe, you know, adjust. All right. And so I think helping people gain a little bit of extra peace of mind, that's a big enhancement.
Yeah.
And a lot of clients over the years have said, you know, thanks for being part of our lives because we couldn't have done this by ourselves. It's very satisfying.
Yeah.
You know, personally.
The beautiful thing about it is, like, you know, if you've got 20 years or if you've got 30 years or if you've got 10 years, right, when it comes to finances, right?
Yeah.
Like, you're still going to arrive there, you know? So you might as well arrive there in a wee bit of style, and it's discipline, really.
Yeah.
You know, that makes those changes. And then knowing how to get the best out of your money too, right? But it is the discipline. I love that story that you put on LinkedIn about that lady who was working at the IRS and she wasn't allowed to work because she was a woman. And he ended up, when she was 100 and something, she had like 50 million or 22 million or something. It was crazy how the discipline of investing is such a big part of it.
Yeah.
Hey, this is business owners, and I want to talk to business owners. I kind of framed it at the start, you know. What could business owners, in your eyes, what do they do well with money, and what's something that you think they could be improving with?
Oh, wow. Gee, such a broad question because, you know, everybody's in a different space.
But you must see a lot of business owners, right?
Yeah, exactly. And helping people through different life transitions is a big part of our work, I suppose. And, you know, for business owners planning succession, well, you know, we've had to do that ourselves.
Yeah.
We're now sort of what we call Gen 3, Generation 3 in our business. So
that's an interesting point, because you guys have done that. You know? So because I think that's a big thing with, you know, for a lot of business owners, they're staring down do I just shut the doors or do I how did you guys look at that picture coming and going, right, here's what we're going to do? Because you've actually done it really, really well.
Yeah. Well, I suppose going way back, Jacob and I, and Dave Bradley established Bradley Nuttall way back in 1994, and it was way back when we decided we'd do it. We were at a barbecue at our base, and we said, "Well, we need to do something different." You know, the world was different then, and we said we need to provide something that was much more independent than what it was. So we just all shook hands.
Is that because, like, at that time though, like, you saw people were charging you commission and you guys decided to go a flat fee and fee for
we went
services?
fee for service probably late 90s, all right? But the whole world was sort of dominated by, you know, the banks, the insurance companies, share broking firms, which commission was very much involved, you know, and there's that always creates a sense of bias.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of natural. Like, if you're getting more commission, you're gonna, you know.
Yeah. But it was interesting way back then that you know, Jacob said, I suppose we should draw up a partnership agreement. And Dave Bradley, I remember it clear as bell. He said, if I'm in partnership with people that I, I have to have an agreement with, well, it's not right, I'm not advising that for everyone, but it did work. And then we were always open, had discussions around how are we going to do this. Dave was a bit older, so, when it came time where he wanted to, reduce his work and things, we were able to sort of buy him out. And then as time goes by, we're always conscious of you've got to get the right people on the right seats. And you've got to, it's been fantastic to provide other work colleagues with the opportunity to become business owners. Now we have about 10 business owners, and during that time, when we did the merger with Richard Austin and Steve Mander in 2017, and they were in their 60s like Jacob and I, but we were able to have those conversations around how are we going to do this, providing opportunities for other people to buy in.
That's awesome.
And it gives them, those other people, I mean, I just see it as it's a responsibility as a business owner. You're the last person to get paid, basically. But it's worked really well with us, very much a team approach. We're all sort of in it together. Other people have, they've had to borrow some money, and, they've got some skin in the game as well, just like we always have.
I love this. Because how do you ID the right people? Because you said right people, right seats. And I think in a business, like you can run out there and give the person, the wrong person, some skin in the game. So you got to make sure you got. And so what was your selection criteria for that? Because I think it's a real important one for business owners.
Look, a lot of the time that for business partners, they've found us. A lot of time we weren't even advertising. Word of mouth. So-and-so, and they said, I can think of one of my partners, Todd Sutton, for instance. He was coming back from being overseas, being in Australia, Kiwi, came back with 3 kids who are, I suppose, all born in Australia. Anyway, and he had heard about us and said, is there a role? Another guy, Scott Rainey, he was at one of the trustee companies, it wasn't quite comfortable in terms of the direction where they were going with. So he said, is there a role? And another guy come from England who had been introduced, and we didn't have roles for them. We weren't advertising.
No.
But we just saw it. Gee, these are good people.
Good quality people.
They got the right interest, and that they care for others.
So you give them an opportunity to buy in.
Well, then we employed them. And then when we felt that it was time, we always had at least a 3-year sort of time frame.
Nice.
And then there's other people who've joined us in recent times, and there's been an opportunity for them to come in as well, and then also to buy out the retiring people. So it's worked very well. I think also we've for quite a long time now, it must be, we've had an independent board member. And in both instances, they've been very helpful in that, having that independency. All right. And they've been very helpful in terms of managing those transactions and transitions, and then talking, they haven't got a vested interest type thing. I mean, they've got a vested interest and see the firm prosper and getting the right people. One of the tools we've used that some of the listeners might be interested is the Kolbe A.
We use that.
You use that? It came from Dan Sullivan.
Totally do.
And look, I just, because I met with a younger person today who's like just 27, do a bit of work with some of these young professional sports people, all right? So I got him to do the Kolbe because he's interested, this person, about hey, what's a good after professional sport? What could he be doing now to help that preparation? That's
a great test to take.
So I got him doing the Kolbe. He's a bit of a fact finder, and that came out straight off. He was an 8 on the first number.
Wow.
Okay. And then all I did was starting to see it, because I'm not an expert on Kolbe, but I just put in, what's a good career path for this, let's say, 30-year-old male professional sportsman, who's got Kolbe profile 8724.
Oh,
And wow.
yeah.
And then say, hey, this is, So anyway, so for the listeners, if you try it out yourself, go online, do a Kolbe
It
index.
basically matches your natural instincts to what you would do. So if you're looking for an operations manager, if you're looking for a salesperson, like there's certain things that you would want and characteristics that the skills of that occupation are required to be successful. And it's interesting when you get when you match them up with the role that you're hiring for. When people start to do that test, especially if you get it down, because if you get it down to a couple of people and you want to really see who, and it's a job that requires follow through, then you need that score to be up high, right? Versus because the way someone might present in an interview and everything else versus what they're naturally like, and this actually picks up what you're naturally like, which is it's a great tool.
And it's also really helpful then that with Jacob, I sort of knew a little bit about his Kolbe.
Yeah.
He was a fact finder in a way. He'd drive me up the
Yeah.
go off on 10, but it's helpful for me to understand his way of doing things. And I'm sure my way of doing things would drive him up the wall. And that was the interesting thing about this long-term partnership that we had. We have chalk and cheese.
Yeah. But you need that.
We're quite different.
Common goal.
Disagreed, never argued.
Yeah.
We never had a big bust up or anything.
Yeah.
Which the way I do things is surprising. But Kolbe's a great tool for people. And I got so interested last night. I think I'm going to dig out my old one, but I'm going to do it again and see if
anything changes.
See if there's any difference. Yeah.
When you give people skin in the game, and I know this from firsthand because I've done this myself. Tell me about the change you've seen in those people.
Look, I think the driver, it's understanding people's drivers. Some people might be driven about, their independence. The money thing is a driver, all right? But for a lot of, I think the bigger driver at a higher level, is more that sense of being able to have some input, of making a contribution. It's like, the old Maslow's hierarchy of needs. First of all, we need food, clothing, and shelter. But then we can go in independence and interdependence. I mean, it's operating at this sort of higher level where they like it or not, they are leaders in the firm.
Totally.
And, they're the business owner and everyone else is going to understand that. So there is some influence and they've put some skin in the game. There's a real commitment. So I think the money thing, but I don't think that's a high level driver.
No.
It's the sense of purpose, sense of achievement.
I think it's a byproduct, right?
Exactly. It's just hey, I've played really well in cricket, and I got my 50 not out. But also a good person will know, well, how good was that 50? Sometimes it's just a poor bowling and you slogged it. Other times it's been a graft.
You earned it. And I think that's what I've definitely seen is like the person, Olivia, she has been with me for 10 years in this business, and she bought in, I think it was probably 5 years ago as a shareholder, and skin in the game, and we helped to get in there, but at the same time, she was going to be going this way anyway. She was a good worker. She cared more than most, right? So I think the fact that she now has the advantage of enjoying the fruits of that. I think she would have benefited anyway. She was the kind of person that was making it happen regardless. But I think having skin in the game for someone listening, if you've got people around that you've ID people, massive believer for me is you don't have to own everything anymore.
No.
And I think young people especially, it's harder for them to get opportunities, when it comes to especially opportunities with established businesses. And I think that's why it's so cool to hear what you guys are doing, because, young people, there's a good group of young people out there that just want opportunities, and, they're prepared to do the graft. And I think that's the difference. When you see someone who's prepared to do the graft, make sure you give them an opportunity.
Oh, yeah. And also, they just bring other skills and capabilities and talents and backgrounds and all sorts of things because, it's it's competitive out there, isn't it? You know, business is, well, actually one of my wife's nephews, you know, it's got a really good business in Melbourne, you know, that, you know, sport is business is a fantastic sport.
Totally.
You know, there's so much, what makes, you know, successes in sport is also the same ingredients for successes in business. And if you picked the world's 11 best wicket keepers, you hadn't got a very good cricket.
No, exactly. Yeah. Oh, look, I reckon business is the ultimate personal development game, right? Like, just like you have to have that personal development drive in sport, you have to have it in business too, because there's so many things coming at you. And that's why, you know, I love having conversations like this, because it was only one idea for a business owner, and it could be, oh, you know, actually, I need to do that. You know, maybe I've got someone I need to, you know, have a chat to about, you know, having some ownership in this, you know?
Yeah. I think saying all this, even though we've got multiple shareholders, the shareholders have got their jobs to do.
True.
The board have got their job to do. And shareholders, the governance and some of those things, you know, you can vote on things, and, you know, you're allowed to talk to the board members, of course. But it's not your core responsibility, depending on what your role is, I think, in the business as well. So we've needed that was a little transition we went through, where every shareholder thought that they had some say. It worked. We got through that. It's so much better now. We have 3 on the board. 2 of them are independents. All right. One of them, James Howard, is our CEO. Again, there's a great example of high quality person, skilled, experienced, you know, a very good leader. All right. His leadership is excellent. And so he sits on the board, and he's got his role to play in the business as well in his day job. But at the end of the day, he's responsible. He's got to lead the team. So, like, again, sorry about this. My wife gets sick of me using cricket analogies, but he's the captain of the team. All right, and you got to make decisions on and off the field.
Yeah, true. Well, look, but that's a great analogy too.
But I did also learn, you know, for a number of years ago, that, you know, I found the board difficult because I'm a left arm spinner, so I just like doing it. I want to get better and better at bowling that ball, or being a financial advisor. The strategic thing, it was difficult, and I felt then, I said, I'm going to resign from the board, and I had as a shareholder, had an ability to put James on there, because his capabilities were just chalk and cheese, miles better than mine. So I was finding it stressful, but that was a big change for me personally, but I think a big change for the business. Again, the right people on the board, and sometimes shareholders think that they should be the board. All right. But are you really the best at that governance? All right.
It's interesting, because that takes a lot of self-reflection and understanding of who you are and what you want to make that decision, right? Because there's probably people on boards now that are just hanging out and know that they probably should be making that tough decision.
I think a board role is really important, all right? And I mean, it's from the top, right?
Totally.
And often, you know, boards, and we've been very guilty of that, is that, you know, you do your compliance sort of work, you know, and you have your annual minutes and everything, but having a good functioning board, so important. And look, I'm sure he wouldn't. Paul Munro, ex-Deloitte, has just been outstanding for our business.
Do you think a business, at what level should a business decide they need to get a board?
Wow. Hey, look, a great book to read is The E-Myth Revisited, Michael Gerber. All right. And in there, he talks about every business. Most businesses are often started by the technician, the person who can make the pies in the book, or be the financial advisor, or be the builder. All right. And a lot of those people who start them will have an entrepreneurial capability and the technician's capability. All right. But what will be probably missing is the management capability.
Totally.
Right. So I think I'd encourage all business owners there.
I'm laughing.
Really the service. You need 3. And we'll all have a bit of that. But probably 1 or 2 of them will dominate. So you got to look at where the gap is. And on board levels, it's saying, hey, what skills or capabilities are needed on the board? Look, sometimes you see boards, people put certain people there because, it's a good thing to be seen that person's got a name. But are they the best? Have they got the right skills for what the business needs in that governance position? So I'd encourage people to take that seriously, that governance bit in the business. And that's over the last 10 years, which as businesses get bigger, you've got to have better management and you've got to have better governance. All right. If it's just, if your business is 1 or 2 or 3 people, sometimes it's just it's a ticking the box exercise, and that might be appropriate. But talk with your accountants and, talk with business advisors, talk with other friends and colleagues. And for us, it's been it's made a big difference having a highly functioning board. And you don't necessarily need to have 5 or 6.
Yeah. That's so good. It's a good conversation, because I think a lot of times, and as you're right, it's a good place to start. Get the E-Myth, read it, and then figure out what you need for your business. And look, I think getting clarity on that gives you the confidence too, right? And sometimes that's all you need as well. Hey, it's 2026. You're listening to this podcast and you've probably heard of AI. So here's what I want you to do. We've created a free playbook that'll actually help you with AI and help your business get recommended. So all you need to do is go to the show notes or the link that's in this video, and I'll send you this playbook for free. What about, let's talk about money for a second with business owners, retirement. What are some of the things you recommend that you see maybe there's some gaps here? When it comes to, because a lot of, you speak to business owners and they're probably late at putting their KiwiSaver in. There's a few things that maybe if they treated the way they look after their money a wee bit differently, the end result, because I know a lot of business owners, they look at their payday as when they sell the business, but that's a bit of hope for people, right?
Well, it could be risky, right?
So how then? That's a good question. How do you de-risk that?
Okay. A couple of things. First of all, I think you've got to build your business so you can make yourself redundant.
Nice.
So then you've got systems, processes, procedures in place, and your business isn't just a job. All right.
If anyone's listening, this is what I'm doing. No, seriously, that's so true. You have to do this. I learned from Kevin Eder, if you want to be replaced, or if you want to be promoted, you have to be replaced. So if you want to go up and you want, as the business owner, to actually be redundant from the business, then you have to build those systems, those processes, and you have to help people. You have to get people to help you with that, right? Because it's so important. And I think as a business owner, especially at certain levels, and you have to increase that even more.
I think connected with all that is you're starting. It's that self-exploration. The Kolbe could be really helpful. Say, hey, what roles in your business give you energy? That you'll naturally go to. Like for me, I learned a long time ago. I naturally, if there's jobs to do, and one of those is ringing someone up to see how they're going, I'll do that.
Nice.
Because I like that.
People person, right?
That connection. All right. So it's actually a bit of that self-awareness, and find that out. There might be some bits in the business you delegate everything except genius. I think that was Michael Gerber. It might have been Dan Sullivan. But so you find out if there's bits there that you can do, but there's other bits in your business that really drain your energy. Can you build your business so you can delegate that stuff? That doesn't mean to say you still might be responsible in a way, but if it's going to drain your energy, you suck it out, and you're not then doing the other key bits. And there might be someone else in your team that you might think, well, this is a senior sort of task to do. Get rid of the ego. If there's someone who can do it better, hey, have that discussion.
How good is that too? Because what I've learned, what you dislike or you're not that good at, someone else is really good at it and likes it.
Goes to the Kolbe. If you looked up and someone's a fact finder like this young guy's in the day, get him to do the research.
Totally.
I can do it. But that means I'm not doing something else. But
you're not ruining that person.
No, but and this guy is loving it.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
oh,
How good's
it's
that?
like trying to get me to be the wicketkeeper. Might not be good.
Well, and this is, like, it might sound like Business 101 to some people, but this is the thing. Those little things make the difference, right? Figuring out like your self-awareness, what gives you energy, what role that, do you really, really get? Because if you really take the time to study this and do this, and you look across the room and you could give that job to that person who really likes that stuff, they can free you up. And that's what we're talking about, freeing yourself up time to think, time to plan, time to be more strategic.
Yeah. Time for yourself as well. But more importantly, suddenly the capabilities of your business has jumped a level.
Yeah,
right? 'Cause
totally.
you haven't got someone, say me, being on the board, mediocre job.
Yeah.
You've suddenly got someone who's outstanding at it.
Yeah.
And then I can go away and do my phone calls.
So good. I like it. I like it. So for that's from a de-risking point of view there. What about the money side of things?
The money side. Look, I think obviously, and depending on where someone's business is, and at different times, as I said, we're the last to get paid, right? So sometimes it's tough years.
Yeah.
All right. But you've got to still look after your staff and keep them.
Yeah.
All right. And grow them. And that's part of what goes with it.
Yeah.
Right. There's a risk-reward trade-off. Business ownership is not for everybody.
No. Right? It was a great conversation at coffee this morning, and one of the guys, he said, look, this happened to me yesterday. They had a board meeting about the results, and he was a bit discouraged because it was down on from last year. Yeah. It was still pretty significant, and I was like, well, okay. And the accountant said to him, hey, but let's put this into context. This is your, out of all the years you've been trading, this is your second worst year, and not second worst year, second best year. So while it was down, it was still significant, right? And I just thought, wow, isn't it a conversation? Sometimes, business owners, we think it's going to keep going up, up and up and up. And it doesn't, but it was down, but it wasn't down like it was, it was still pretty decent. So
it's gap thinking, right?
Gap thinking, mate.
Yeah.
It was really, really, really interesting. And I think, as business owners, like we are the ones to get paid last. So how do we ensure we aren't paid last?
I think it's very important to protect your confidence.
Yes.
Isn't it?
Yes.
People go back to cricket. Gee, he's out of form. Yeah. Sometimes you're just one good shot.
One good shot away.
One good shot.
Someone drops the ball.
Yeah.
You're away again.
And you're away. And it's so, hey, well, why was this ever so hard?
Yeah. Yeah.
But in your business, I'd encourage everyone, even, to join KiwiSaver.
Yep.
If you're a business owner, it's neutral, isn't it? It's just part of your pay.
Yeah, part of your pay.
And it's amazing. It's like fitness. If, I see you at the gym regularly, right? So the best way to get fitter is you got to do something about it regularly.
Yeah.
Do something every day or whatever, and your finance is like, okay, to get fit. So we've got a cricket tournament coming up. So I know it's 6 months away. So you map out and, I'll stick on there. There's no point leaving it being a lazy bugger, and then in the last month, try and hit it really hard. No. It's not going to work. Something's going to break. And so with KiwiSaver, the thing I like about it is the pay period's every fortnight. Every fortnight, you're doing something about it.
Yeah.
And sometimes just the money's going to build up. Yeah. But also you've done something that's for you at some stage, even though it might be just a little bit. Yeah. But it's still something you can tick it off.
Totally.
And there's also, you can't touch it, which is a good thing, I suppose. But it's amazing just over time, people suddenly realised, time and compound interest is a great thing. Yeah. And suddenly people say, gee, I've got 10 grand or I've got 110 grand. And then, the last few years has been great returns, right? That doesn't mean to say next year is a great return. But it's that time and compound interest, I think. Yeah. Someone described it as the eighth wonder of the world, didn't they?
Totally.
And I think a lot of people now are starting to see that a little bit often. That's how you get fit. Yeah. And doing something about your finances. If you can automate certain things, it helps reduce decision fatigue.
Yeah.
You're trying to make a decision every fortnight, every week about what, automate your bill payments, don't you? You have them on direct debit and stuff. And then you don't need to worry about it. Because you can focus on the big things.
Anyone that comes here, seriously, you need to learn to live off 90%. Like, just put 10% in there. Oh, but I don't want to do this. But why wouldn't you? Like, if you can learn after 6 weeks to live off 90% of your income coming in, you're set for life. You seriously, because of the compounding effect. You start here and you're 18. And you're putting in, there's no excuses, right?
It's like debt reduction, isn't it? I mean, everyone's different, but I think for a lot of people, having revolving credit, it can be a helpful thing. But sometimes it's also hard to get the payment done.
Totally.
And it is quite liberating. I still can remember that sort of month when the final house mortgage was paid off, and pressure. It comes off, and because you're not answerable.
No, and I remember the day too, and it was actually paid my mum's off before she passed away too, and I was like, you know what, I just the how good you feel when you don't have a mortgage, and I said to my wife a week later, because we pay a mortgage weekly. I said, guess what? She goes, what? I said, there's no mortgage this month. It's week. And it's like, it's crazy, right?
And that also then provides an opportunity. Okay, well, celebrate it. But, expenditure can also expand to the income available. So that is a great opportunity then to actually start the accumulation. And some of, the listeners, of course, will, their business, they may have, they've bought the building that they're in and have it owned separately, owned by a separate entity. But that's also a way, of accumulation. I think a lot of business owners have been quite successful in that. I've seen business owners, they've sold the business, but they might still own the building because they know the tenants in pretty good shape. Right?
What do you think Kiwis or business owners are getting better with money? Like, because it's an interesting one. Like, obviously there's more advice out there. But it's probably more fragmented than ever. Interested to get your take on it.
Look, sometimes these things are important but not urgent. People want to do it. But sometimes it can be. It's just take the time to pick up a phone call and say, most like financial advisors will say they can have an initial meeting to explore if it makes sense to work together. At work we do hour and a half. Talk to your accountant around it. Sometimes everything's your foot's flat to the floorboards, isn't it? That you've got to poke everything you can into the business. It ultimately is the goose that lays the golden eggs. Right? So timing is important. There's some great tools online, but us humans, we still are so influenced by what's happened immediately preceding, aren't we? We overemphasize recency, and we react
far too much,
and we react to fear and greed. I mean, in today's world, we are programmed to run from saber-toothed tigers, right? But there aren't any, but we are, we are programmed to, cortisol. I mean, us humans run, chemicals run us humans, right? We get cortisol with worry and anxiety, and that can be to protect us, but it also can be a great inhibitor. All right. When we do something and we cross something off the to-do list, we get a hit of others. It's serotonin, one of those things or something, and that's why I think this fear and greed can play havoc sometimes with people's decision business making. We can get too greedy or too fearful.
And that's where you said take away that decision fatigue and just set stuff automatically.
Set stuff up automatically. That's where it's good to have that independent sitting there who the other day I was in a cricket game and I was 12th man, so I'm sitting on the sideline and you can see things differently from the sideline when you're out in the middle. Right?
Fully.
Say, come on, move that field around here. Well, why don't you change this ball or that? Because you're not in it.
That's a good point, right? Like, so with your finances, getting someone who has, I guess, skill in the game, understanding, and also doing it themselves, because then you start to see some of the things that are going on. I think, this industry's at the moment, it's been given a bit of a rap because, man, there's some scams out there, right? And sadly, some people are getting, their money, who what they thought was a good investment is all of a sudden, how do people educate themselves, or what are some of the questions they should be asking a good financial advisor? Because, I feel sorry for some of those people. They obviously probably have been promised something that is unrealistic in some aspects. What's your take on that?
If it looks too good to be true, it probably is.
Yeah, that's solid advice.
Yeah. Look, there are a lot of really good people out there.
Totally there is.
And if you say people who have been around for a long time, if their firm's been around for a long time, I think it's really good. How do you get paid?
Yeah.
What revenues would you or your company you're working for receive if you're managing my investments?
Nice, eh? Yeah.
All right.
That's a great question.
What's your investment philosophy? Do you believe that you can sufficiently well protect the future that you know which shares to buy, which shares to sell, or when to move in and out of markets?
Yeah.
All right.
How do you know they're pulling the wool over your eyes, though?
I think in Christchurch, it's a small town.
Yeah.
Right? And the word of mouth thing is, you could ask lawyers, accountants, you're a lawyer, you're accountant, what's the reputation of these people? What are they been doing? Maybe they might be able to have a testimonial. I mean, there's a very sad situation at the moment, isn't there? Close to home, out of Rangiora, If you just Googled the name of that person, there's
enough there to say.
There's enough there to just say, hey. And look, with all the new regulations and things that are in place, and Australia has been much more highly regulated than us. Sadly, there's still been some, not good experiences for some people. It's a small percentage, but sadly,
I think it's important to spend, however long it's taking you to save or get that money. Let's say it's taking you 10 years.
Yeah.
You should at least give a percentage of time to actually audit who you're going to give that money to and how they're going to invest it with you.
Yeah.
It should not be done on a sales call and, a promise of XYZ. Or there was a famous one, a guy was taking older people out for dinner because there was no such thing as a free lunch, but there's such thing as a free dinner.
Yeah.
He was going around the South Island doing free dinners and ended up with something like $17 million, and so it's crazy how that happens. So I think, just use Google and find that out, because, there's so many good people out there, so many good firms that actually have a track record as well, right?
Yeah. And look, there's some very good smaller firms that have, the people are hard workers and got, great values.
Yeah. Hey, let's talk about it, because we've been only 50 minutes. Let's talk about this, because you had a second birthday. And look, I didn't know this before, and I started, before we decided to come on, so I started doing a bit more research. So you were in Singapore, and you had a heart attack?
Yeah, I had flown in from visiting a son in London, because we have another son who lives in Singapore. So got up that morning. Thankfully, the son in Singapore's got his own place with a spare room, so Joe and I can stay there, and I got up, went for a more run. I started feeling a bit funny. I thought it must be just the heat, So I walked home by and by, then walked with granddaughter to preschool and walked home again, still feeling a bit funny. So Joe said, I'll have a shower and freshen up. I'm still feeling a bit funny.
Yeah.
Then I felt my pulse, and that was a feeling a bit funny.
Yeah. It was racing?
No, irregular.
Oh, wow.
And I've always been really fit.
Yeah, because you're a fit person.
Yeah, blood pressure's low, cholesterol, blood tests were always low. I didn't, anyway, so I was feeling a bit funny. Joe checked my pulse, and she said, oh, no, it's all right, but it wasn't.
Yeah.
And anyway, got an Uber to the closest hospital we could.
Wow.
I walked into A&E, and within about 15 minutes I arrested, so I was gone, And I was very fortunate that a cardiologist was walking down the hallway. He got me started. He said, the only reason probably we got you started because you're pretty fit.
Yep.
You know, there was a theatre available.
Wow.
Just needed one stent.
Yep.
Everything else was fine. But what had happened, a little bit of plaque that I never knew I had, had peeled off, caused a clot in that artery that goes back into the heart. So the heart didn't like that and it stopped.
And how long do they reckon that was like that?
The plaque could have been there for ages. It's just that for whatever reason, randomly, it had sort of peeled and that clot formed around in that particular part of the artery that goes back. They call it the widowmaker.
Oh, is that right?
So anyway, I just woke up afterwards. I do recall, though, I was lying there after I'd made this horrendous noise, Joe said, and then code blue was going in the hospital. And anyway, I remember just lying there, this must be serious. Oh, well, I've had a good life. Joe and the kids will be all right.
Wow.
What regrets do I have?
And this was
was while I was semi-conscious, I suppose.
Wow.
But if the cardiologist, when, finished, he said, there's likely to be some heart damage, possible brain damage as well. Well, I found out, the heart's, recovered. I get an exercise ECG just for keep a check. Now I've got to take about 5 tablets every day after never having to take any. But anyway, heart's good. Probably still some brain damage, Scott. but I was just lucky.
Yeah.
I'm probably the luckiest bloke really. But just there's an opportunity to get on.
Did you have any regrets?
Regrets was that I could recall what came to mind back then, and it's times I'd been too angry dad. Now my kids are all polite, and they said, "Oh, we don't remember that, Dad." I'm sure they do. But but that was looking back on those times. We were working hard. We're trying to build a business. You got all that stuff that a lot of people. That's life.
Yeah.
So
any big lessons that you kind of like? I read that you've had some of the things that you kind of, I guess, relate to business and relate to life.
Yeah.
From that.
I think gratitude's a very powerful thing that we all have our ups and downs, but being able to write a little list every now and again. Dan Sullivan talks about that.
Yeah.
Write a little thing of 3 things you can be grateful for today. And when you think risk and reward is related, but close cousin is luck.
Yeah.
Like you and I are lucky to be born in New Zealand.
Yeah, totally.
To be born at this time.
Yeah.
We're lucky to enjoy good health. You know? Now, there's things that, we both do that aid those things.
Yeah.
And sometimes in business, things don't work out.
Yeah.
Sometimes they do.
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, luck. Hey, there's a great book by Morgan Housel, sort of the psychology of money.
Yeah, totally.
And he talks about this luck thing. And it was just lucky that Bill Gates's high school had a computer.
Yeah.
Because most other high schools
didn't have one.
And the world might have been a different place.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's you have to create your luck as well. And you have to realize when you do get lucky that and be grateful for it, and then realize, hey, it could be a lot different. Like I do talk because I've traveled quite a bit, and I've been to places where, and I'm starting to see, because I go globally around the world with how, the world is becoming a smaller place for employing people, right? So we have someone who works with us from India, we have Pakistan, and the Philippines, and now you're working in a global economy, So I always tell my team, like, these people are training harder than you guys are, they are working, wanting to be, because they aren't as lucky as us. They can't walk out that door and have fresh water and all this sort of stuff.
But some of those people are also very happy, and there's a great speaker I've heard, the resilience program.
Yes.
Program. They do it in schools in Aussie, and he's really strong on gratitude.
Yeah.
And having empathy.
Gratitude and empathy. That's so good.
Yeah.
Just finding those 3 things that you could write down,
and having that quiet time to focus the brain. If it's anyway.
You've obviously read and learnt a lot from other people. You got any favorite books that come to mind? I know you've got one that you told me about before.
The E-Myth is a great book. I think a lot of business owners would enjoy reading that. I like Morgan Housel as an author. He's written 3 books now.
I love
readable.
his next book around how to spend.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
that is fascinating, right?
Yeah.
Like how to actually, because that's another thing, right? We could talk about this topic for ages, right? I'm personally fascinated in finance and I don't know why, because it's probably because I came from nothing, that have made a bunch of money and stuff. But I'm fascinated how retirement works and all that sort of stuff. And like there's even another game of like actually how do you then spend the money? Because a lot of retirees you hear, they make all the they build up this nest egg and then they don't know how to spend it.
Yeah, I got an example of that. A client who was a good business owner, and he'd been very successful. And he was his thing where he was an accumulator.
Yeah.
All right. And that's what gave him pleasure, was
Yeah.
accumulating.
Yeah.
Other people, and he was happy and contented with that, right? Probably quite proud of it.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So his kids did all right.
Yeah.
And that'll enhance their lives in some ways. Yeah.
But then it comes to that stage where
how you
do you spend it? How do you spend it?
There's a lot of need in our community.
Yeah.
How can we enhance our communities, make a difference?
Yeah.
What makes sense to you? And because maybe a lot of business owners have been fortunate, and some of that is their skill and work ethic, but there's also some luck.
Yeah.
So maybe sometimes you can share it around a bit too.
I think it was really interesting growing up. I was kind of taught business owners were greedy, business owners are this and that. Yeah. And I was like, it struck me one day because I'd sold a business and I wasn't really doing much. And I went out, I kind of had started Digital Influence, but we weren't really going that fast. And I ran a seminar and workshop, and then these two guys, and they want to go out for dinner, and they wanted me and my wife to come out with dinner and their wives. And I didn't realize it at the time, but they were just good people. I didn't realize that they were just interested in us and what we were doing, because I had this belief that rich people and business owners were crooks, with this and that. I remember driving through Maryvale and Dad would say something and I'm like, oh, anyway, that's just the way it was, right? But then, because I got home and I said to my wife, I said, what do they want from us? And lucky enough, my wife, she said to me, Scott, they don't want anything. They just enjoy being around you, and you're actually helping them grow their business. So why wouldn't they want to be around you? Yeah. You're a business owner now. You're actually good at this. And it was like, whoa.
I mean, how fortunate is Christchurch post earthquakes?
Oh,
there is some high net worth people in Christchurch, and they've stuck with the city, and the city wouldn't be the same without. And many of those people, and a lot of them in behind the scenes,
totally.
Doing a lot of philanthropic work, a lot of really good work.
I was lucky enough to be...
it's the tall poppy that
totally
New Zealand.
Totally. Yeah, very much. And it very much was alive. This beautiful building in here, inside was Sean Stockman. Yeah. He's been my landlord for probably, I don't know, probably 8 years.
Right.
Doesn't have this building anymore, but it was like, he could have taken his money anywhere.
Yeah.
But he didn't. He stayed with Christchurch and really started to do what he does. He does stuff really cool. Another book you said, The Gap in the Gain.
The Gap in the Gain. That's by Dan Sullivan, and I mean, any of the listeners can just Google Dan Sullivan, because there's a wealth of information on his website. Right, there's some great concepts that I think so valuable. Dan Sullivan's a coach for entrepreneurs, so check him out. But The Gap in the Gain is, I mean, briefly, that often us humans, the way our brains work is that we might be at, say, situation A, and we've worked hard and we've got ourselves to level B.
Yeah.
But then we will always say, oh, yeah, but we should be better than this, right? I shouldn't be at that level. Yeah. And so our self-talk can be quite damaging. And I think sometimes highly talented, cricket again, Martin Crowe was always looking to play the perfect innings, and maybe we didn't see the best of him because he was a genius.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, totally.
And but that desire, so there's this gap between, we go from A to B, but we think, oh, we should be at C. And we're always comparing that difference between B and C, not looking back and reflecting on the progress that we made. So what can we have gratitude for? The progress we made. What next?
Yeah. And that's it's
a great book.
With Dan, and he talks about that. I'm involved with a few groups from around the world that I go over to. The best part I love about it is they make you reflect on the gap in the game. They use his to talk through that, and it really is giving yourself the ability to look back is something that every business owner should do.
Yeah. Look at the progress.
Yeah. Look at that progress.
And
Look
then
at
what next?
what next.
Yep.
Hey, you wrote in an article, and it was part of your second birthday, that wealth isn't solely about money. It's about relationships, it's about friendships, and about having choices and options.
Yeah.
I think that is a great, insight and takeaway, because a lot of people think wealth is just about money, and it's not.
No, it's a measure,
Yeah.
I suppose, of some things. It's not the be all and the end all, and that's what, Hugh from the Resilience Project, when he did his, he taught in northern India, and he saw all these young kids being so happy and cheerful and grateful. And then he reflected, comparing kids from his hometown, Melbourne, that was full of anxiety, sometimes depressions. And what drove him was his younger sister had suffered from a mental illness, And so it's quite sad in this Western world that, we do all sorts of things that maybe we can learn from the Eastern world and those that haven't got as much. So, but at the end of the day, that's why I just love playing this vets cricket. It's the camaraderie. People you get to know, the relationships you enjoy, all those sorts of things. But that's also life, isn't it?
That is life.
And so,
sport, life.
Yeah, and in your business, it's also trying to enjoy the company of the people that you are employing. I mean, what a responsibility. You're providing, lifestyle and, hopefully peace of financial peace of mind for your team of people. So try, everyone frustrates each other at times, but you got to try and enjoy the company and enjoy the process of enhancing people's capabilities. I suppose that's one of the things Jacob and I and, Rich and Steve we've most found, proud of in many ways, is providing opportunities for our team members to grow. Personally.
Providing opportunities for other people to grow. That drives me. Seriously, I think, what a gift that you can actually have use your skills and your bigger thinking to actually help other people. I love the quote by Zig Ziglar again, you can get whatever you want in life if you just help other people get what they want. And I always put get what they want first. I'm a massive believer in that. Like, if you can help other people, give them a leg up, then in the end you win as well. Like, it's just a
win-win, right?
It's the way life.
So we've got to build building other people's confidence. But to do that, you've got to protect your own.
Yes. How do you protect your confidence?
Well, probably as a result of a few things over the years. I'm not as harsh on myself as I used to be. I was, probably self-talk was pretty harsh, and that was all part of this process of, you should be doing better. All right. And that's, it is what it is. All right. But I'm conscious every now and again, you just catch yourself and go, hang on, I'm a bit of stinking thinking here. What can I have gratitude for?
Oh, that's lovely. Stinking thinking.
Yeah.
But you're right, though.
It's a spiral, isn't it?
Well, the good thing is you have the ability to catch yourself now, right? And I think that's a good point. Like, if you're a business owner and you do get into some stinking thinking, take a minute, pause, and what could I be grateful for?
And just a little thing we're doing at work in our team at the moment, because often I have other, if I'm in a meeting, there might be another advisor as well. And at the end of the meeting, we do a 2x2.
Nice.
And we always say, what went well this time?
Yep.
All right. What could I do differently next time? And so it's a bit of a, we do that we do that on each other.
Brilliant. So the client's left and you have a 2x2.
Yep.
What a great tool. That's like, clarity, one of your core values in the business is clients first, and that's a great self-reflection, because you just want to be better. Here's what you did well, here's what you should work on.
I just said it's our responsibility to actually keep on trying to do our work better, right? Because we're direct impact on those that we serve.
I love that. That is a tool that we're going to use in our business starting tomorrow.
Right. Cool.
No, we're going to use that, because
we'll have to do a 2x2 on this podcast.
Why not? Why not? Why not say what you can improve on? Look, I went to Toastmasters. What I loved about Toastmasters, and why I recommend Toastmasters to everyone, is the feedback system, so what you did well, what you need to improve on, what you did well.
CRC, was it?
Yeah.
Is that it?
Yeah.
Command, recommend,
Yeah.
something.
And it was really, really good because they gave you what you did well, but they gave you what you really need to work on.
Yeah.
But they didn't leave you with, they gave you something inspiring as well. And I just think, that's a similar to that. That's perfect in an environment.
Well, people have got to feel safe with each other.
Yeah.
So there's a whole lot of things come out of that process.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You end up having staff fighting in the but the thing is when you have a client first focus, this is the goodness that comes out of it, right?
Yep.
Because you have a desire to improve because you want them, not only your staff, because I think it's a good point. You look after your staff in that environment, they're naturally going to look after your clients.
If they're feeling good about the work they're doing and they're feeling safe in the team, it's some people say customer first. No, you can look at it another way and say, hey, staff first. You've got to, it's really important that that everyone working in the team is feeling confident, feeling safe, feeling protected, feeling valued.
Yeah. Man, great conversation. I know you're a busy man. Hey, if someone wanted to get hold of you, or they want to have a chat, where's the best place to go?
They go just on Cambridge Partners website, and then they make contact.
Yeah, there's a really good page on for business owners actually. If you're thinking about, hey, how do I transition, or what's the best way to actually maybe talk to some key staff, or if you're looking at selling your business, you actually do a free introductory call on your page. So what I'll do is I'll put the link to that on the show notes and on our website.
Yeah, we've also one of the Dominic Sheehan, who's the head of advice, so another one of the younger team, but in a senior exec role. He's put together a little brochure on business exit planning.
Oh, brilliant!
Which is a fantastic resource.
Okay, so we'll link to that as well.
Yeah, five or six pager. I'll get a copy to you as well.
Awesome.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. Hey, we'll appreciate your time. Hey, you've been here for an hour. You've been listening. Now I need you to do me a favor. I need you to go and share the podcast. We're going to put this out on LinkedIn. We're putting it out on YouTube, all the social media. Wherever podcasts and videos appear, if you see this, what I want you to do is share it with a business owner. People actually need to hear a conversation like this around finances, around money, when it comes to New Zealand business owners. And the more conversations we can have about this, the better we are as a country. So please share it. Until then, though, Andrew, thank you for coming on the podcast.
Oh, it's fun.
Keep working on the left arm darts.
I want to get some revs.
Hey, but until then, have fun, go out there, do your best in the community, help some more people. And as always, have fun, take action, but celebrate your victories.